So welcome everyone. Today's Amud is based on the base in Makos, and we're actually going to start on the mission on the bottom of your base in Amud Aleph. A quick introduction. The mission is going to be discussing what happens when there's a tree, right? And the tree's got the bark and it's got the branches. So what's the main part of the tree? Is it the bark of the tree, or is it the branches? And the difference is going to be if the bark is in the Ir Miklat, or the bark is outside the Ir Miklat, and the branches, the tree leans over. I guess it's one of those trees you see that come at an angle, right? So if part of it's inside the Ir Miklat, and part of it's outside the Ir Miklat, what is the main part? That's our question over here at the bottom of that page over there, right? The mission at the bottom. So we're going to have, there's a machlaik. So it looks like from our Mishnah that you always go, the main part of the tree is the leaves, the branches, the knife. We don't look at the bark. But we have a Mishnah, we have a Brisa that seems to be saying that it's irrelevant. The branches or you never go with, you go where you are. It doesn't matter. Neither of them follow the other way. And there seems to be a brisa that says that you do follow the branches. So we're going to see. Let's take a look at the Mishnah. That's a tree is standing inside the tchum. So the bark. That's what's called the bark of the tree. It's in the tchum. It's in the Ir Miklat. Here's the line. Ir Miklat, outside the Ir Miklat. And you've got the bark that's in the tree, in the Ir Miklat, and the branches lean over outside the Ir Miklat. So it's standing in the Ir Miklat, but the branches lean outside of the tchum. Because if you remember, we said that the tchum itself is part of the Ir Miklat. If he runs into the tchum, it doesn't have to be the wall part of the city. Even the tchum, the 2,000 feet around the Ir Miklat, that's also going to save him, right? So it's not talking about where it's in the city and it's leaning out. The tree is inside the tchum and it's leaning outside the tchum. Alternatively, the bark is outside the tchum, but it's leaning inside the tchum. So what's the din? The Mishnah says, you only look at the knife. The only thing that we care about is where the branches are, not where the bark is. It's actually, I'll give you another minor introduction. It seems to be there's a machlekes, the Rambam, and the other Rishonim here. What are we talking about, the branches? Are we talking about standing under the branches? So if a guy, in other words, if you go after the knife, right? So if the bark is outside the Ir Miklat, you see nice bark, big thing outside the Ir Miklat, it's leaning into the Ir Miklat, and in the Ir Miklat's all the branches, right? So that would mean that if you're on the bark, if the guy starts climbing, the guy's chasing him. He hasn't got time to get into the thing. He climbs up to the bark. He gets on the bark, holds on to it. Now you can't kill me because the knife is inside the Ir Miklat. I'm saved just by holding on to this tree because most of the tree's inside. So it seems as a machlekes, we're talking about he's under the branches, he's under the bark, or he's climbed onto it. Mm-hmm. The way Taisus and Rashi seem to be learning is it's talking about a guy that climbs up. He's climbing up the bark, he climbs up the branches. The Rambam seems to be saying he's talking about a guy that's standing under the leaves. He's standing underneath. Does that consider, we're going to see maybe why there's this machlekes of what we're referring to here, but just in case you weren't sure what we're talking about, you're in good company because the Rishonim have this machlekes, what we're talking about. So says the Mishnah, we're on the bottom of Yud Beis Amud Beis, Yud Beis Amud Aleph, the Mishnah. So actually we just saw the Mishnah. Raminu, the Gemara asks. So we have a contradiction. The Mishnah says, "Hakol hailech hacha knife." You never look at the bark. You only look at the branches. It's interesting that it uses lashon knife. It doesn't say branches, a limb or whatever. It's much of the reason why you go for the branches is because of the view. What's the point of having a tree? It shades, gives you shade. It's the knife, whatever. It's a beautiful thing to look at. The knife, it's not beautiful to look at the bark, it's beautiful to look at the whole tree. So, Akol Hailech Hacha knife. You look at the knife, you look at the view. Knife literally means the view, right? it means the branches. Ramenu. So we have a stira, we have a contradiction. It says, the tree standing inside, and it's leaning out. What it's standing outside, it leans in. It doesn't matter which way it's going, in or out or in. You look at the wall. You look at the wall. Inside the wall is inside. Outside, you never look at them. We don't care about the knife. We don't care about the tree, the branches, all that stuff. You look at the wall. Inside the wall is in, outside the wall is out. And actually, this brisa is talking about Maisa Sheni. So, a quick introduction to Maisa Sheni. The rules are that you can eat Maisa Sheni only in Yerushalayim, and you can be paid of it only outside Yerushalayim. So, outside you can't eat Maisa Sheni. Outside you have to be paid, you have to redeem it, you pay the money for it, and then you can eat it. Inside Yerushalayim you can't be paid, but you can eat it. So, if you're in, you eat. If you're out, you're paid. Those are the only two options. You can't be paid in, you can't eat out. No eating out. Right? So, this price is talking about, there's a tree, Yerushalayim, there's a wall. Are you in, are you out? This price says we don't care where the tree is, where the leaves are, where the branches are. All we care about is where the wall is. In, out. It looks like it's arguing on our Mishnah, because our Mishnah seems to be saying, with Goyal Adam, that a tree, you go with the knife. Right? So says the Gemara answers, Maisa Ari Mikla Karamis, you're asking a question, the din of Maisa, the din of Ari Miklat. Maisa B'chaymet Tala Rachmana. When it comes to the din of Maisa, about being paid the Maisa Sheni, that's totally the wall. We care about where the wall is. That's the only thing we care about. But Ari Miklat, when it comes to Ari Miklat, B'dira Tala Rachmana. We care about living. So we'll take a look in Rashi. Rashi says the last line in Rashi, B'dira Tala Rachmana. So keep going in the Gemara. Let's read one more line in the Gemara before we see Rashi. So the Gemara explains a little bit. B'dira Tala Rachmana, b'naifai mitdarlei. A guy can live in the branches, or if the Rambam, a guy can live under the branches. Be'ikar lo misdarlei. You can't live on the bark. A guy can't hold on to the bark and live there, right? Or a guy can't live under the bark, but you can live under the branches. You have a nice shadow over there. You can live underneath it. So take a look in Rashi. B'dira Tala Rachmana. It says Ki be'ir miklasa yeshev. Well, in the last Rashi, it says Ki be'ir miklata yeshev. It says you have to live. You have to sit in the imiklat. It doesn't say you've got to be in the imiklat. You have to actually dwell in the imiklat. Yeshev, to sit. You've got to dwell there. So it's not about being there. It's about dwelling there. For Naifa Royal Dira, and under the tree or in the tree, you can have a tree house. There you can live. Yesem Ikara. You can live on the tree, in the branches. You can't live holding on to the bark. Yerushalayim, knife. Oh, we'll see that in a minute. Okay, hold on, we didn't get there yet. So that's the Gemara's answer between these two steerers. Our Mishnah says you go with a knife. That Brisa says we ignore the knife. You just care about the wall. Gemara says because there's a difference. This is talking about Ir Miklat. Ir Miklat we don't care about the wall. We care about actually where you live, and you can live under them. You can live under the branches, so that's fine as long as you're living there. That's considered you're living in Ir Miklat. But with Maisa, we just care about where the wall is. So that's the first tiras. This is strike one option how to answer this kasha, right? The Gemara says, Varami, in that case, Varami, Maisa. In that case, we've got a kasha, a contradiction, Maisa to Maisa. Let's see why. What's a contradiction? The Tanya, it says in a Brisa, Yerushalayim, knife. When it comes to Yerushalayim, means when it comes to Maisa, Rashi says, the Indian Maisa, knife. It says in Yerushalayim, when it comes to Maisa, Sheni, knife. You do follow the knife. You do go with the branches. So we just said it's mashmal with Maisa, you just go with the wall. I only care where the wall is. Here it seems to be saying with Maisa, you do follow. So what is it? With Maisa, do we go where the wall is, or you go where the knife is? That's the kasha. And Bari Niklat, it's all part of the same brisa. So we end up with a kasha. In that case, Maisa to Maisa. You just said that Maisa, we don't care where the tree is, where the branches are. We just care where the wall of Yerushalayim is. We see here, it says Yerushalayim Hailech HaKhanayf. You do follow the knife. So you're left with the nut, so you have to give a new teretz. Rashi says we ignore the first teretz. Rashi says the first teretz falls away. There's no difference between Maisa and Retzeach. It's all the same din, right? The first teretz is gone. We can't say, Retzeach has different Maisa, it's a different din. It's all the same din, Maisa and Retzeach. So what's a chilek? Why here do we say you go with a knife and there you go with the wall? Amar of Kahana like kasha. There's no kasha, there's no contradiction. Harab Yehuda of Harabanan. So our Mishnah that says you go with a knife, and this Bryce that says you go with a knife, that's all Rabbi Yehuda. But Rabbanan says the thing that says you go with a wall, that's Rabbanan. Rabbanan says you go with a wall. Rabbi Yehuda says you go with a knife. The Tanya, how do I know this? There's a Beferish Brisa, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. Rabbi Yehuda says, B'ma'ara haylech acha pischa. If you have a cave underground, and the opening to the cave is just by the border, so what do you go with? So you look at the border, you look where the mouth of the cave is, or do you look at where the actual cave is? So Rabbi Yehuda says, B'ma'ara haylech acha pischa. I don't care if the cave is under the Yerushalayim, is outside Yerushalayim. You go where the mouth is. If the mouth's outside, it's outside. If the mouth's inside, it's inside. And Be'ila, and this is the more pertinent part to us, Be'ila and Hailech Achad Noifai. So you have a Mefusha Brisa, the Rebbe says, with a tree, you always go with a knife. Mm-hmm. Okay. So therefore he can say, Rabbi Yehuda holds, you go with a knife, and Rabbanan say, you go with a wall. That's the din of Maisa. Until now, it's all pretty clear. It starts getting a little bit complicated now. So it says the Gemara, Amor, should we say the Shama Sleh, or maybe it's a Machlekes Rosh Tosfos if this means like for sure, or this is a suffix, maybe, but Amor the Shama Sleh Rabbi Yehuda Gabi Meiser L'Chumra. Rabbi Yehuda only said his din that you follow the knife, you follow the view. That's only L'Chumra. We never say this L'Kula. Our Mishnah seems to be implying L'Kula, right? That you follow the knife, l'kula, l'chumra, you can kill him inside the knife, you can't kill him outside the knife. But maybe Rabbi Yehuda only said his din over here. This is Beferish Rabbi Yehuda, but ilan ha'lechacha knife. Maybe that's only l'chumra. In other words, he's going to explain. Ikare b'chutz v'nayfe b'fnim. Let's say the bark of the tree is outside, and it's leaning inside. So just like you can't do pigeon on the Paris inside, because it's like considered inside Yerushalayim, you can't be pyric, you can't do pigeon, you can't redeem it inside Yerushalayim, and if the knife is inside, you can't be paida. Therefore, you can't also be paida outside. So you'll be machmer if the knife. If the knife is inside, we're machmer, and you can't be paida. If the bark is inside, the knife and the leaves are all outside. Now you can be machmer this way. Just like you can't eat outside, so you can't eat it inside unless you're paida. So basically, if it's outside, if you're on the tree, you can't be paida and you can't eat. That's what Rashi seems to be saying. Rashi explains that's what it means here. You can't be paida and you can't eat. You go l'chumra both ways. You always machmer. Mm-hmm. And actually, Rabbi Kiva asks, either it's in Yerushalayim, it's not in Yerushalayim. You can't be both in and out. You should be able to. Either way, you should either do a p'diyah or you should be able to eat it. The Mashmai said, this is how Rashi says, is that you take both chumras. You take the chumrah that you're in Yerushalayim, and therefore you can't be paida. And you take the chumrah that you're outside Yerushalayim, and therefore you can't eat it. That's how the Gemara wants to say. That maybe Rabbi Yehuda said his din only l'chumra. Take a look at the top Tosfos. Amid the Shabbos say Rabbi Yehuda l'chumra. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda says it's din l'chumra. So Tosfos says v'tzarachin. This needs a bit of analysis here. Minale d'lo yamin gam l'haka. Why would you assume that Rabbi Yehuda never said his din l'haka? Why is Rabbi Yehuda's din only l'hachmir? Good kasha. Like why? Rabbi Yehuda says halachach knife, right? Why would that be only lahachma, not lahakal? So Tais says yesh leimar. This really gets to the heart of the sugya. Yesh leimar the mistavra isle delay pligi Rabbi Yehuda v'Rabbanu kulahai. Mistama, they're not arguing from one extreme to the other extreme. We always want to try and make the machlaikas as small as possible, not as big as possible. So, the v'Rabbanu kulahai ki em b'chumra ba'alma. So, in other words, Rabbanu l'chayra is saying you go with the main part of the tree is the bark. That's the main part of the tree, right? So it's not likely that Rabbi Yehuda says no. The main part is the leaves, and therefore you can even make it's a much smaller malchayka. Say yeah, you're right. The main part is the bark, but let's be machmir and be chayshish for the tree for the leaves also. But not to say no, that's the ikka and the other's the tafel. The other's the shayla is like what's ikka, what's a tafel. Mm-hmm. That's how Tosfos seems to be learning. So it's not mistaver to say he holds this is the ikka, he holds that's the ikka. It's much easier to say that he holds that's the ikka, but you should be chayshish that maybe they're the same. Not that that's the ikka, the other's not the ikka, but just they're the same. And that's why say one's the ikka like that, just say they're both the same. Why would you assume that no? You could be makel then, and say no, really, the knife is the ikka, and I could be makel, the knife's the ikka. No, maybe they're just the same. Not for sure one's the ikka. Who's the one's the ikka? So that's how Tosfos learns. Says the Gemara. So Ella. So the Gemara just said now maybe Rabbi Yehuda says it's then only l'chumer, not lahakal. Now what's going to be the din of Rabbi Yehuda by ir miklat? Ella gabi ir miklat. Now, what's going to be the din by yemik? If the bark of the tree is outside the imiklat and the leaves are inside, just like you can't kill on the leaves inside because the leaves are inside, right? He's inside the imiklat. So the leaves are going to save the bark. So if the guy is sitting on the bark outside, you can't kill him. Because since the leaves are inside, you can't kill. Ella, what's going to be then? Ikarai bifnim, if the bark is inside v'neifa b'chutz, sorry, bishlamai ikari b'chutz v'neifa b'fnim, okay. Ella, ikari bifnim, what happens if the bark's inside, v'neifa b'chutz, and the leaves are outside? So can you kill the guy now on the bark? So you're going to tell me that you follow the knife, and now you can kill the guy even in the ir miklat. The guy's in the ir miklat, hang on to the bark, you can kill him. The Gemara says, what do you mean? He's standing in the ir miklat. How can you kill this guy? He's in the ir miklat. That can't be. That doesn't make sense that just because the leaves are outside the ir miklat, you can kill him. So Amar Rava says, he's going to explain Rabbi Yehuda differently. When he's standing on the ikar, let's say the ikar's outside, right? If the ikar's outside, you can't kill. If the leaves are inside and the bark's outside, he's on the bark, the leaves save him for sure, right? What about koiba knife? If he's standing on the leaves outside, now there's a new case. This guy's standing on the leaves outside, and you can shoot him down. Can you kill him? Yeah, you can shoot him down. Everyone agrees you can shoot him. It's as if he since there's less than arba, it's not called like a roof. A roof is a different rishus. You have 4x4, it's a whole different rishus. Okay, it's a chiddush Tosfos saying that you need the 4x4 to consider it another rishus. But with the tree, it's all the same rishus, and the avir is niskadish. The air, according to Tosfos, the air on top of Yerushalayim is kodesh. If you're flying in a plane over Yerushalayim, you can't eat ma'aser shein lefi Tosfos, right? The air is kodesh. So lefi the Rambam, it could be he learns no, it's not. Just like otherwise the roofs would be kodesh also. Okay, so that's back to Yud Beis Amud Beis. Take a look in Taisus Ravashi Omar, Mayachar knife. Just halfway down Taisus Ravashi, Taisus says Vikasha. Knife. Rebuta says you go after the knife. The Hainu Afacha knife means you also go after the knife. You go after the Ikar. And once you're telling me that the din of Hailechacha knife means you're always machmir, so you could have used the other losh. You could have said Hailechacha Ikar. It's got nothing to do with knife. There's no specialty by knife. He's just saying you be machmir. And I was just say be machmir, always be machmir. The lotion of Hailechacha knife means that you also go with a knife. Okay, take a look in the Mishnah. Next Mishnah. We don't have a lot of time. It says the Mishnah, Harag Ba'isa'ir. And we're talking about a real Rahmanistic guy. He kills someone. He said he gets into Miklat. And in the Miklat, he's still swinging the same axe he had beforehand. He kills another guy. Right? So what happens? Harag Ba'isa'ir. This Yisrael kills in their Miklat. So what happens? He has to go. Let's say the city has 10 different neighborhoods. There's Rav Hashem Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin. So he's in Aleph, now he's got to go to base. Someone will learn that means that he can be in the rest of the city, just he has to leave Aleph. If he's in Aleph, the question is, does it mean he has to now stick just to base? He's stuck down to one little neighborhood in the city? Or it means he's got the whole city? Because the pashtus, the mashmais of lushness, he has to go from one neighbor to another neighborhood. Now he's stuck in base. He has to be in base the rest of his life, right? But it could be he learns that it means he has to leave his neighbor. The din is he has to leave his neighborhood as long as he's in the rest of the Miklat. And the reason why they want to say this is because even within the Miklat, right, the tchum is kailef. You could be in the tchum. So what? The rest of the city is in the tchum of whichever shchuna he goes to. He should be allowed to go to the tchum of whichever shchuna, whichever little neighborhood within the city he goes to. Okay, so that's the Ritzach. So he goes from shchuna to shchuna. Ben Levi, what's the din about Ben Levi? Remember, the Ir Mikla were filled with the Leviim. What happens if a Levi kills someone in the Ir Mikla? What happens? Ben Levi Gaila Me'il Ir. He leaves the city, he goes to a different city. Okay, he has to be Gaila to another city. Ton Rabbanon. Where we get this whole din from? It says we learned the Samti. It says in the pasuk the Samti lechom makom. I'll read the pasuk to you. It says the Samti lechom makom asher yonu shama. I made a place for you where you should run to. It's interesting. It's a strange lashon. I made for you a place. The Samti lechom makom. What's it come to teach me? Asher yonu shamta. Samti lecha. So Chazal Adoysha, I said for you a place. Hashem's telling Moshe. The Samti lechom makom. The Samti lecha. Says the Gemara, B'chayecha, in your lifetime. Hashem says to Moshe, in your lifetime you're going to have Ari Miklat. And they make another drasha, Makoim, or L'cham Makoim, Mimkoimcha, it's your place. The Ari Miklat are the Levians, that's what he's saying from here, right? L'cham Makoim, or the Bachis guys, Bimkoimcha. You're the Ari Leviim, that's the Ari Miklat. So says the Gemara, Ashayana Shama Melamed Shayisol Megalim Bamidbar. Even in the desert, if someone killed someone by accident, he would be Gaila. So where was the Miklat in the Midbar? Leichen Gailim. Leichen Gailim Lemachane Levia. As we know, that each Shevet had its own camp. So if someone killed someone accidentally, he would go to the Machane Levia in the Midbar. So someone asks you, where was the Miklat in the Midbar? Machane Levia. Ben Levi Shahar. This is where our Mishnah gets it in from. Ben Levi Shahar Gailim Plach Leplach. Ben Levi, who kills, where does he go? He goes Plach Leplach, from country to country, literally. That's from a district to district. He has to leave one district and go to another district. What happens if he goes to his own district? So Palcha Kailet, it works. He should leave to go to a different plach, but if he stays in his plach, it works. Take a look in Taisus, Palcha Kaltai, the bottom Taisus, take a look in the bottom line of Taisus over here. Taisus says, Vim Yigla le Palcha Kaitai, Shalai Yetzi Meshchuna l'Shchuna. Then if he goes to his own plach, it means he has to he has to change shchuna. He's not allowed to leave his neighborhood within his plach. That's what happens if the Ben Levi kills. Omar Ravacha, Breder Vika, Ravacha said, "My kra ki be'ir miklata yeshiv." What does it mean? Ki be'ir miklata yeshiv. It says in the pasuk, he sits in his ir miklat. What is this? What's this coming to tell me? Ki be'ir miklata yeshiv, ir shekaltasai kvar. It means that this guy he killed, now he's in the ir miklat. This is ki be'ir miklata. It's mashma. It's his ir miklat. Why is it his ir miklat? It said you should go to the ir miklat. It says he goes to his ir miklat. Meaning it was already his ir miklat, and then he killed someone there, or he's the Levi, and he's living there. It's his ir miklat. He has to go within the ir miklat. Take a look at the bottom line in Rashi, the very bottom of the page. Ir miklatai. Krayaseru. This is extra. It should say. Let's read the pasuk actually. Where's this pasuk? It says, "Ki be'ir miklat yeshiv ad ma'isa kohen gadol." He sits in his ir miklat till the kohen gadol dies, right? It's crazy. The motzin miklat kisham yeshiv. Why does it say ki be'ir miklatai? We're talking about the ir miklat. It's just a kisham yeshiv. It's much shorter. You knock off two words. Kisham yeshiv. Ki be'ir miklat yeshiv. So that's what the pasuk's coming to tell me. There's extra two words here. That ir shekaltasa kvar. Once he's already in the ir miklat, he can just be goyle mishchuna l'shchuna. That's how Rav Ika learns this pasuk. All right, shkach habaysai. Have a wonderful day. We'll do the mission tomorrow.